Hey, Lisa, thanks so much for joining me on a well designed business today.
Hey, LuAnn, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, you're welcome. I mean, a referral from Nicole Heimer, that's just, do not pass go, just collect $200 and go to the front of the line. I mean, pass go, collect $200 and go to the front of the line, right? So I'm super excited because, look, Nicole and I have been working together for 8 years now, and she is an exceptional, rare person and business person. And her advice and her counsel and her wisdom has basically been extremely influential in creating the business that I am lucky to have. And when she recommends somebody, I know that's a slam dunk. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation, Lisa.
Yeah, I am too. And I agree. She's fantastic. No one cuts
Yeah,
through the BS like she does.
I know. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so here's the thing, you have a particular superpower in helping entrepreneurs. Do you specialize just in women? I don't remember if I know that part.
I do focus primarily on women, but there are men who opt in as well. And, it's interesting because they have the same issues that women have,
Sure.
but we just tend to focus on women because it's deeper, right? There's
Yeah.
so many layers, but no, it's not exclusive to women. We have men too.
Okay. So the thing is, you focus on helping women entrepreneurs, CEOs, a lot of creatives. So you've worked with many interior designers, obviously through your collaborations with Nicole Heimer as well of Glory and Brand. But I love the line that I saw on your website because what your focus of your work is, the imposter syndrome slayer and a visibility architect. And I love these things because they really are great brand descriptors for your superpower, which is helping creatives and entrepreneurs, stop saying, yeah, but, right? Or no, that's not right. Or I don't look good. Or this feels icky to be visible. And it's a different world needing to be visible now, isn't it, Lisa?
Yeah, I mean, it's a requirement. It's a requirement in today's online culture that if you have a business or a brand of any sort, it's really your job to be visible. And it's
Mm.
interesting too, because I don't know if you follow social media, but there are so many trends and so many things that pop up every now and then to get around that, like the faceless trend. Did you see
Yeah.
that recently?
No,
And
no.
so, yeah, it was this faceless trend about creating this beautiful, unattainable lifestyle brand by not showing your face. And there were a lot of people that I thought were going to go that direction. And I think it's actually died off because at the end of the day, what you need, especially if you have a team and if you're showing up, like I know you have a social media team that asks you for content all the
Right.
time, is you have to feed that pipeline. And if
Mhm.
you're not feeding the pipeline, then you're getting stuck or you're not building that brand recognition and that trust. And I mean, it's really a no brainer. Look, we've got access to our people directly. We don't have to go through a lead generator. We don't have to wait for them to find our blog or our podcast. We can actually put a post up on Instagram and have conversations with our people like directly. You
Yeah.
can get in the DMs and you can get to know them. So if you're not taking advantage of that, it's going to hurt your brand in the long run. It's going to hurt your business in the long run.
Mm.
And so what I do is, that moment when you get that big opportunity and you get like that piece of press and they want to take your picture, or you get asked to speak on a stage, or you just get the big break, right? The big pitch, whatever it is. And then the next
Mhm.
thing you think is like, oh crap, I've got to show up. What are they going to think of me? I've got to send photos over. All of a sudden, you're now going into this other part of your job, which is to be visible. And we're not trained for that. I mean, we can
Mm.
do our businesses until the cows come home, but we're not trained to be visible. And we're certainly not brought up knowing how to show up on social media and how to post our photo and how to not have that trigger all the mindset issues that come with that.
Mm.
And so that's what I help with.
That's interesting, and of course, it's necessary, there's no question, right? Here's the couple of things that go through my mind. Number 1 is that there is the one hurdle of being comfortable, right? Of showing up online and having the photos taken, whether they're professional headshots that, look, we all know you can have professional headshots that capture you, or you can have professional headshots that look like a caricature of you. Like I've had both taken, right? And it's like, you're just like, who is that person there? You know what I mean? Or what's worse, what usually happens is the first one or two times you have them done, you think you've shown up. And
Yeah.
it's not until you see the difference of the way you look in others and you're like, oh, that's like the corporate stick version of me, but here's the real me. But you're looking at them and you're thinking, oh, this looks great. My nose isn't to this and my teeth are that and blah, blah, blah. And you're focused on the minutia, but you don't even recognize that your soul didn't come through. Like your eyes didn't come through. You're just like there. And it's structurally and technically been done well, right? And so that's one hurdle, is understanding the difference between branding photo shoots for your website that really show you. But then the secondary thing is, when you talk about taking it into social, is that fine line of really understanding, well, what is showing who I am as a person and a brand, and what is oversharing and just dumb and boring? So I think that's a secondary rub, right? And they're both important because there's just like, I don't want to see what you ate for lunch every day. I really don't. I don't know how that helps me get to know you better. I don't get it. But and I don't know. Maybe you'll tell me no, that does help people get to know people better. They find out that somebody's vegan and that makes them attract to that designer better. Like, I don't know. You can school me, Lee. School me.
Okay, so there's two parts to that. So the second
Yeah.
part has to do with developing your point of view and your values and how you're showing up, and then how somebody might see that and connect to you as being distinct from somebody else who does exactly what you do, right? Like, just
Okay.
taking that, for example, the vegan thing in your lunches. So maybe you're
Right.
an out of office entrepreneur. Maybe you're never in the office, and that's part of your lifestyle, is to travel around and have these fantastic lunches in these gorgeous places. So it's relevant to post a photo of your lunch, post a photo of your lifestyle. That's a part of your personal brand. And then there are personal brands who are very transparent. Like, there's somebody like you who just shows up with, hey, this is what I look like. This is my family. This is what I look like on vacation. And
Right.
it's just not, you don't have any blocks around it. It's baked into who you are and your personal values to just do the thing and show it, although you don't see the point, right? You're not posting that
Personally.
for
Right.
validation. Yeah, exactly. It's just to
I'm doing it
feed
because
to
the
feed
team
the
is begging
demand.
me every week, send us the pictures at the beach. And I'm just like, okay, here they are.
Yeah, and so, but you're where people want to be. Like, you're where we want to get to that point for people who really struggle with visibility. And part of that is
Mm,
imposter syndrome. And then the other part of it is perfection. So there's building a brand, and then, which is fine. That's an entity on its own, right? It's beautiful, it's constructed, everything is selected just so to make the brand look a certain way. And then you insert yourself into the brand in photos, in video, any kind of visual. And translating yourself into it is really, really hard for people. So
yes.
that's where
Yeah.
we get stuck in perfection. And to just go back to your first point, when we hire a photographer to get our photos, we do our best to pick the right person, right? And what do we have to go from?
Mhm.
Reputation, referral, and we're looking at their portfolio. But the thing is we don't know in their portfolio, they're obviously, and this is not to knock photographers in any way, shape, or form, but everyone has had this experience where you book a photo shoot. And we all know it's not just booking the photo shoot, it's scheduling the time. It's getting to the studio. It's getting your hair and makeup done. It's picking your outfits. And that's before, I mean, that's after you've gone through all the pre stuff to pick the
Mhm.
photographer based off of their portfolio, which they've strategically chosen to show you what's possible. But the thing is you don't know how comfortable those people who have these amazing photos of themselves, you don't know how comfortable that they were on camera already. You don't know how easy it is for them to show up. And so you go and you sit and you wait for the photographer to tell you what to do. and you're uncomfortable, which is completely 100% natural, because when somebody's pointing a camera that's this wide at your face,
Yeah.
that is
Mhm.
intimidating. You can no longer
Mhm.
see the photographer's face. You know you're
I
not the
know.
first butt in that seat today. And you kind of feel like you're being judged. And all of a sudden,
Yeah.
your hands feel weird, your fingers feel like sausages, you don't know what to do with your arms, and you just become this lump of clay. And that's because no one trains us. Like, we're not trained to be on camera. We're not trained to show up for photographs. Now, contrast that. Well, then you get those back and you have what happened, what you said. You get those photos back where
Yeah.
there's no light in your eyes and you look like a corporate stick figure, which is just a
Yeah.
beautiful way, chef's kiss way of saying that, by the way. Now, contrast that with you lit up with your friends. You're at a party, you're having so much fun, your hair's tousled, you're mid laugh, somebody snaps that photo, right? And you are just totally unself conscious and you are lit up. And you look at that photo and you're like, that looks like me. I look really happy in that moment. And everyone else agrees. Everyone else says, yeah, that looks just like you. But it's very difficult to maintain that sense of freedom in front of the camera. There's a certain amount of performance that goes into being on camera. We click into this other mode, whether it's
Mm.
professional mode or, like model mode,
Judgment
whatever
mode, I think you
mode.
said. It's
Yeah,
like you start judging your own head, like, "Who are you? Why are you doing this?
exactly.
Why do you that's a weird pose. That's what"
I know everything feels so strange. And so
Yeah.
with repeated exposure and more practice, this is going to get easier. But what I talk about in the photo club is what I put myself through for 30 days, because of course I
Oh.
had the shoe on the other foot. I had my business. I needed to launch my business. I needed photos. I needed to show up. And so I'm like, I'm a photographer. I've got this. I can take my photo. This is going to be so easy. No. So
Famous last
I was
words,
taking
Lise.
these photos, and I know. And I was taking these self portraits because I just needed stuff to post on Instagram. I didn't have a team begging me, but I knew that I had to start posting my pictures so people could see that I was an actual human, right? And
Right.
so I'm taking my photos and I'm taking like 100, 150 photos and I'm looking at them and I'm just hating everything. And all of a sudden, in that one photo, are all the stories, right? Oh, you're too tall, you're too X, you're too. Every story that you've heard about your personal appearance all of a sudden comes to the forefront. And then there were a couple things that I did during this process that were a little bit different. I didn't use a DSLR camera. In fact, I don't shoot with one at all. I shoot with my iPhone because it's fabulous and it's all you need.
Wow.
So, to
Wow.
remove that excuse, which is the number one excuse, which is I can't take my own photos because I don't have a nice camera. Yeah, you do. It's in your pocket. Pull it out and use it. So, I put the phone in a tripod and I was looking at these pictures that I was taking with a selfie camera, and I'm like, okay, I'm okay with these. I'm okay. And I'd look in the mirror and I looked the same. And I was fine. I didn't like them technically. I still didn't like what I was seeing, but I was fine. And then I thought, oh well, this is so silly. I need a better quality photo. So let's flip that camera around and take it with the back camera, right? Because that's a much better, higher quality lens. So I
Oh, okay.
flipped it around and I started taking photos with the back lens. And I was like, oh my God, I look like a monster. I look like a troll. I don't look anything like myself. What
Ah,
is happening? And I was having all these reactions to those photos. And then so I went into my research mode, which I absolutely love. And I jumped back into biology about how the eye actually sees your image. I jumped into what's happening in the selfie camera. The selfie camera is mirrored, it's flipped. So the image that you're seeing of yourself in a selfie camera is what you see in the mirror. So
oh.
you're reversed in the selfie camera. So it's familiar.
Yeah.
So when you take that selfie, I mean, we're not going to talk about the weird distortion of selfies and all the other things that selfie cams do. We'll leave
No,
that.
but your
Everyone knows
face
that.
has got the eye on the right side and the weird dissymmetry of your face is in the right spot that you're used to seeing it.
So when you
Whereas on
take
the
that
other way, your face is
asymmetry.
opposite.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but
Oh,
everyone
whoa.
everyone is asymmetrical to some extent. Your
Right.
one eye is slightly
Sure.
higher, all that, right? So when
Higher.
you
Yeah.
flip
Yeah.
that, And then you're looking at it with a back camera, which is the same way you see yourself in those professional brand photos, by the way. Your face
Yeah.
is flipped. And so like you're looking at me, you know what I look like, LuAnn. Like we're seeing each other non-reversed, and walking around the
Right.
world, everyone is seeing you non-reversed. So you're walking around the world literally the only one that doesn't know what you look like because you only see yourself in the
Right.
mirror. So there's a lot
Right.
of other things psychologically that are happening with our photos. And so what we do in the photo club is, well, we realize that, right? And then we test it out and we explore our asymmetry and we take pictures of ourselves with that back camera to show our brain it's okay. This is what I look like. And when that happens, when those
It's
two
safe.
versions of
This is who you
yourself,
really are, sweetie. Right?
this is me. And
Yeah.
so, what happens when you're doing that and when you're exploring your angles and you're looking at yourself is all of a sudden there's no activation behind a bad angle or a bad picture. It's just information. And so, we get to
Yeah.
that point where then we can start showing up. Then we can start revealing more of ourselves. We can breathe in front of the camera. We can play. We can experiment. We can take up space in front of the camera, and we're just living our life, which is so
Interesting.
beautiful about where you are. And I guarantee there's people who are listening to this who are so envious about you just being able to snap pictures and give your team whatever they need when without having to go pick the outfit and the hair and curate the beautiful scene for Instagram. You just doing it. And that's where we
Mm.
want people to be. That's what I want people to get to, is that point where they're doing it and then they're showing up with their point of view and they're living out their values, and what we're seeing is them, and they're not
Yeah.
blocked anymore, so they can
Right.
say yes
Right.
to all
Right.
those amazing things, right, that they say they want
Right.
mentally. But then they're also
Mhm.
like, well no, because then I have to do this or I've got to be seen.
Yeah. Interesting. It's so interesting. It's the thing is, I think we have gotten past the although I was just gonna say, I think we've gotten past the hurdle where literally every interior designer that listens to this show at least knows that they have to be on their website. Like your face has to be there. To me, it's a non-negotiable. Like I have no idea what the stats are on it. I don't know what you as a photographer would say about it. I don't know what a branding expert as you would say as it, but to me, it's a non-negotiable. Like I am considering spending tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars with you. I got to look at you because this is an intimate experience interior design. I'm not doing a one off. Like we talk about the difference between a client and a customer, right? A window treatment company can have a customer. I can come in one appointment. I can present to you your options, measure, give you a product, give you an invoice, walk out. 4 weeks later, it's installed. Thanks for being my customer. But designers are creating relationships with clients. And it's so funny because when I first started podcasting, Lisa, 8.5 years ago, I would tell you at least 25 to 35% of the time, designers would not have their faces anywhere on their website. And it made me crazy. And it just made me crazy not even I didn't even have the wherewithal at this point to have it from a business perspective. I wasn't even at the point where I was translating. You want me to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars with you and I have no glimpse of who you are as a human, as a person, right? No about you page, what matters to you. It made me crazy at initial first knee jerk reaction because I'm coming into an hour interview with you and I want to know something about you before. And then I started saying, I'm aggravated because I got to do an hour interview with you that isn't costing either of us, quote unquote, other than time. And I'm pissed, like internally pissed and feeling like, how can I do my best job with you if I have no idea who you are? And then I started to get very vocal about how do you expect a client to spend tens of thousands of dollars, right? So I would tell you that I think as an industry, we've moved past that. Although last week I did look at somebody's website, came up, what happens is, and I tell him like a broken record, if you message me on Instagram, either DM or on the feed, if I don't recognize the name, I'm going to click over to your profile. And when I get to your profile, I want to see your picture. I want to see what your business is. I want to see what town or city or state you located in, right? And if I don't see those three things, then I go, all right, now I got to click on their link in bio. And I go to their website. Pisses me off. Okay. And then God help me, I get to the website and I look at the About You page and it's not there, or it's there and it's we this, we this, we the dunes and beaches, and we this and we that, no picture, no why you're a designer, no emotional connection. And I'm just like, and so now I come back to the message on the Instagram and I'm like, yeah, I was about to engage with you as a human, but I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are. You're not a human. You're
And
not a human online.
that's hurting your business. I mean, but you went through all those extra steps and all those hurdles to try to find the picture, and most people
Yeah.
don't make it that far. Most people
No,
don't.
I
And
know they don't.
it's and it's funny that you bring this up because I just had a workshop with interior designers 2 weeks ago to talk about what we're talking about today. This particular group of interior designers was with this specific person who they hired to get them press. So,
Oh,
there were like 40, 50 interior designers in this room that they joined this group to get press. So the
wow.
person running the group that had me in as a guest is constantly saying, okay, you're here to get press. If you want to get in a magazine, you're going to have to be photographed in your room. There has to be at least one picture of you with the pitch. And she's still saying it until she's hoarse, which is why I
I
came in
know.
the room and I talked to them. But here's the thing with interior designers and creatives and anybody with an elevated aesthetic:
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
we don't feel like we're as important as this elevated space and this creation that we're putting out
Mm.
into the world. And this is the saddest thing, but what I hear the most is I don't fit my brand. When they see me, I can
Oh.
create a stunning room, but when they see me, I don't go with the rooms I create. And I'm
Oh,
afraid I'm
goodness.
going to bring it down. And I mean, that like, it brings tears to my eyes because
Oh,
I freaking
yeah.
love interior designers, LuAnn. I have so
Yeah.
much respect for anybody who can take individual pieces of furniture and color and bring a room together in a way that just gives me goosebumps all over my whole body. It is magical, and I cannot
Yeah.
do that. And so when I work with these women, I just see this incredibly talented person who has a gift that most people don't have, and they don't want to be photographed in their room, especially when you're lucky enough as an interior designer to design a room to completion, like where you actually get to style that room right
Mhm.
down to the last detail. And most people don't realize that. Most people don't realize that it's actually rare that you get one of those
I know.
projects,
Yeah.
yeah, where you can have it styled and then shot and then photographed, and you're not going to get in the frame.
Yeah.
What a missed
That's sad.
opportunity,
Yeah. It's
right?
sad, right?
It's going
It's
to,
sad
yeah.
because it's the thing is, I feel like, any person who had a good mama, right? You can hear your mom saying, your beauty's on the inside. Your beauty's on the inside. Like, it doesn't matter. It's like, and we know that phrase. We know that phrase. If you're comfortable in your skin and you're smiling and you're genuine, your eyes are lit up, it doesn't. Do you have 10 pounds on? You're too skinny. You're too fat. You're too tall. Your clothes aren't pretty. Like, it does go away if you can just find that you that is you that did build that room, that did put that room together, right? And yeah, okay, so maybe you get a new outfit. Maybe you feel better if you get a new outfit, right? But and maybe your regular outfits don't all look like that at home, right? Like, right? But it is I think we all know the difference when you're in your skin, right? And you're
I mean,
owning it.
I think that, yeah, and I think that there's a lot of people who know people like that. Like, we all have someone in our life that just walks around and they're comfortable in their skin, and we just look at them and we're like, yeah, that's just not me. Like, I don't have that. Whatever gene that person inherited, I didn't
Mhm.
get. It's interesting.
You
I
know what, Lisa?
am
I'm going to tell you something. Let me just tell you something. What's interesting is I don't have that gene. I don't. I I'm going to be completely transparent. I have now in my 60s where, the collagen is less in my skin and it's a hell of a lot wrinklier, and not even so much my face, but my arms and my legs and old knees and all the wackadoodle shit, right? Oh, listen to me cursing. We're going to have to take that out. um, and all the wackadoodle stuff. what I'm learning now, this is me being completely transparent. What I'm learning now at this age is how actually I should have been confident, more confident as who I showed up at 30 and 40 and 50. Because if I had the combination now and plus who I was physically, right? And the shape that I was in, and which are things that were important to me. They don't need to be important to somebody else. They were I worked hard, I exercised a lot, I enjoyed it. I did the exercise for enjoyment, but I got the results from it also. But I always saw what I wasn't. I always saw what I wasn't as opposed to what I was. As a matter of fact, I went swimming with my daughter Beth this weekend and at the beach. We've had a beach house for 20 plus years. Um, I came to the beach Saturday afternoon. Her and Bella were in the water, and I walked right in and went into the water. And she just looked at me. She goes, "Mama," like I'm mom to the kids. So she's like, "Mama, mom's in the water." Now I swam laps for a gabillion years. Okay, I grew up around water, and she just looked at me and she goes, and Bella is like, "Mom's in the water. You're gonna jump away." And Beth looked at me a couple of minutes later. She goes, "What gives?" And I said, it's a much bigger discussion. I said, but I'm just going to give you the cliff notes. If you can believe, I never came in the water all these years with you kids because I didn't feel comfortable in a bathing suit. Like stupidity. And I said, and now that I actually don't look at it in the bathing suit, I finally am over it. Right. So what I say though is it isn't truly, there's a distinction between comfortable in your skin and what you are talking about, which is move through that. Every picture isn't going to be terrific. And if you can find that moment, like I talked about, like your mom says, the beauty is within. I make that switch for all the photographs that I have to do. So all the live events, I'm just like, this is who I am. I'm smiling. I'm happy to be here. I'm thrilled that you want your picture with me. And I'm putting myself in that head spot of you actually want your picture with me. And that's freaking awesome. So I'm smiling and I'm here for it. But I don't want anybody to think that I don't have that lunatic in my brain either.
Yeah.
I just had to take that moment because I do not want, because there are people that are totally comfortable in their skin. And I'm only getting there at 62 because actually all the skin looks crappy now. And I'm finally like, whatever, I missed the boat. Now I may as well just say screw it. Right. So, but I hope you don't mind me indulging in that story because it is true. If you see me in real life, I'm gonna be there. I'm take the picture. Want to see it? No, I don't care. Tag me in it. But that's a different thing. And I think probably what you're doing is you're teaching people that we don't have to solve every little girl hurt in your brain. We don't have to solve every quagmire, but you can cross over and show up from the standpoint of your business and your clients. And yeah, like for me, the analogy is when you tell me the designer creates a beautiful room and they don't think that they're worthy of standing in that room, they've done that, but they're like, I'm not as elevated as the room is. Like, I want to say to you, it's like when you come up to me in an event and want to take a picture with me, to me, I dishonor you if I'm in my head about that picture. So I do that for now both of us. I've done it first push through for you. And now I'm like, this is for us. We take a picture together. So cross over. You created that room. You own that room. That's your thing. You need to be in that room. Don't overthink it, right?
Yeah. Well, and the thing that I hear the most, and what you're saying tracks, it tracks that when we hit a certain age, we're just over
Yeah.
worrying about certain things. And I'm 51, and then so I have a podcast as well. So with the podcast, the person listening to my podcast, they are between 35 and 65, with the majority of my listeners being between 50 and 65. And
Yeah.
then with the photo club, they're about 40 and up. And
Hmm.
I think that there is oh, hold on, I lost my train of thought. Um it's not just a photo, and that's the point. So the thing that I hear the most from people who go through the photo club and they go through the equivalent of this process that I just told you about that I did for 30 days is I didn't realize how much me not showing up was holding me back in every aspect of my life. So they
Yeah.
realize the thing is that right now, sitting at home, listening to this, you have so many things to do, right? You've got to post on Instagram. You know what your competition's posting. You know what that one other amazing person in your industry is doing. You're in your head
Mhm.
about trying to make something as equally great. And right now, the pressure feels like it's all about that photo, right? It feels like it's all
Mhm.
about the photo. And so, what we realize on the other side is it's not about photos at all. It's about getting to the point where you realize what is important. So, I've had people go through and say, I'm more comfortable with my family. I'm a much better
Yeah.
human. I'm willing to open up more and be vulnerable with my clients in my relationships. I'm able to show up and take the photo with my kids because my kids want that photo of me and I want
Yeah.
them to have photos with me. And I've had women with body dysphoria who have literally they would eat a piece of pizza and go run and look in the mirror to make sure that they hadn't put on weight. And so when
Oh.
they saw photos of themselves, all they saw was this, all they had for that was self-criticism and they couldn't
Mhm.
see past it. And so having them go through this process where they're seeing
Mm.
themselves and their body and what they actually look like, which is they are amazing and they're seeing that, and then
Yeah.
they're realizing this is just like if I could have gotten over this in my 20s, if I
I
had this
know.
handbook in my 20s, where could I
Yes.
be and what could I do now? Which is why I'm writing a book, by the way, because this
Oh,
needs to
good for
be
you.
on every woman's nightstand.
Good for you.
This, yeah, this just reality of the situation, especially because these two generations like below us, they're growing up 100% online.
Online. Oh my god, I watch my granddaughter, it's just so crazy, it's so
Yeah.
crazy. But I love that, and you know what? I think that we all come look, we're all garden variety humans. We all come with our bag of nonsense in our brains, and some person gets it because their father paid attention, some person gets it because their father didn't, person gets it because their father wasn't there. Like, there's 1,000 reasons, but the reality is, I think at an epidemic level, most of us don't appreciate ourselves and our gifts early enough in our lives, period. And that translates to being reticent to be visible, right? Is exactly what you're teaching and showing. And I love, Lisa, that because I don't know what it would have taken to get this through to me at 20 or 30 or 40. I don't know what it would have taken. I don't know if anything would have been able to do it. I don't know. But we also don't know if people like you don't talk about it and don't write books about it and don't point out to the rest of us to get out of our head. And then, if the juice for doing it is simply because it will benefit your business, and if that's the reason you start, but you end up with all the other benefits, well, then, that's just high five, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's why people don't leave the photo club. They stay. They stay because
Yeah.
as we
The
go through
support.
different challenges and different iterations, they're like, what else can I discover about myself? What else can I try? What other
Interesting.
situations can I put myself in? And it becomes this form of self care. It becomes
Yeah.
something that is a celebration of yourself. And look, we stop taking pictures of ourselves as we age, and we stop seeing ourselves as we age, and we're in them less frequently, typically, right? We're avoiding the camera
Yeah.
a little bit more so that when we do get in the front of the frame and when we do take a picture, we're like, oh, holy cow, the changes are coming fast and hard. And that doesn't exactly make you want to get back in front of the camera. And the beautiful thing, again, because we're talking about Instagram here, is what we've used, for example, or your website or whatever. But you all know once that website is done and you do put your picture on the about page, then you've got to go feed the social media beast, right?
Yes, that's what it is.
And
It's the
you,
beast.
yeah. And you don't want to be the block for your team. So if you are the person where your team is saying, hey, we need more photos, we need you to do this, we need to do that, then there are more ways to show up than just the typical beautiful headshot, right? Like we can make
Yeah.
videos, we can do photo dumps, we can show what our life is like on our weekend. And to your point earlier about that, no, you don't have to show all that stuff, but if it feels good for you and if your audience is excited about it, that is actually the easiest kind of content that you can create. It's a heck of a lot easier than getting in the car and going to a photo studio.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very weird oxymoron about that is, moving to that part of the conversation where I am like, listen, you know, I just revealed some of my, mindset and head game stuff, no question. But that's not what stops me in social now. That I am beyond that. Like I'm show like I said to you, this is a video. It's on YouTube. They're all there. And yesterday I was sharing with Lisa off air somebody I interviewed yesterday, they were a little nervous and a little, just getting to know each other off camera before we start. And they were like, so, I was told that this was like video too, but it's not like I should be video ready. And I was like, oh no, yeah, no, it is. This is video. This is me. Like no hair, no makeup today. And we're just rolling with it. I said, but you look gorgeous. You look perfectly video ready. Let's go. Right. And so I am that part. I am beyond. Doesn't mean I still don't have head games. Right. But my block now with social is, even though I have the objective proof that if we put a post up that is remotely personal, it will get 10 times more engagement, 10 times more conversation around it than a post that's like, hey, LuAnn says in her book, blah, 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 right? Like, but meanwhile, like the team is always like, so let's, get more, casual shots. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing with your day to day? I'm like, what am I doing with my day to day? I have 4 freaking interviews. I'm losing my brain. I have an employee interview at the end of it, and I have to record a solo show. You want me to take pictures? Are you out of your mind? What kind of pictures would I take? Like, I mean, I'm not even sure I'm going to eat or pee today. And so I just like, stop, go, like.
But you have to think about it from our point of view. So you run this incredibly successful business, you produce so much. So look at it from an outside perspective, and you have
Yeah,
people that that do the same thing, right? So
yeah, yeah,
people who are trying to get to that point, and we want to know, we always think that there's some secret formula that someone else has. Like, what is it that you're actually doing? Like, this is what you're telling us that you're doing in your business, but what are you actually doing? And so when you just show yourself being a human and you show us, going to the beach or snapping pictures on the podcast booth or your point of view on the microphone, just anything simple like that, it is creating that connection. It's creating
yeah,
that bond, which is such a gift, and it's such an easy way to show up because so many of the other accounts are so highly curated, and we know that
yeah.
that's not what your life looks like. And that's another objection for people, is they're like, my brand looks like this, my house looks like that, I can't take
Mm.
pictures in my house to show you what my
Oh,
office
see, for
really looks like.
designers, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes,
that, I
yes,
mean, that
yes.
happens all the
The
time.
office in my mind and the office that I work out of are 2 very different things. I could see that being a legitimate thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So if it's not about you, it's about your space, or it's about the
Yeah,
expectations of what people want to see from you rather than what you want to show people, which is actually
yeah,
your choice. That's your
yeah.
choice.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I love that your lane is helping with the mindset part of it, because if you can't get past the mind, like look, I said, on a social media point of view, I am well past the mindset part. That doesn't bother me. I'm just still blocked on the value of it. And even though I see the legitimate results, but I still just don't. It's like, you know what? You want to know what I'm doing? I'm moving at 1,000 miles an hour. That's what I'm doing. Like, it's not rocket science. Like, yup, if you're going to put out 12 podcasts a month, there's a heck of a lot that goes into the background for that free podcast, people. Like, you know what I'm saying? And try to launch Land University and try to launch this and write another book in the background. Like, it's, I don't know what to tell you, but I don't know what you think I'm doing. I'm not having pina coladas. That's all I can tell you. I'm not. So, I'm just like, imagine it. It's just as crazy as you think it is, right? So, but I can see that there's the 2 levels. It's first being beyond that boundary of being comfortable and doing it, and then second, what is the content look like, and why should I do the content, and do you really care about the content? And there are 2 different levels. The photo club, Talk to me about that photo club. What is that you do? And it sounds like it's kind of like a brainchild or kind of a brainstorm, a result of your 30-day experiment that you did with yourself, or get us in the weeds on that a little, Lisa.
Yeah, so there's a course inside there. It's called No More Bad Photos, and that has this psychology module that I just talked about, which is everything that you can go through to understand that your face isn't flawed as much as your self-perception is. So we're getting your brain on board with what you actually look like, and then we're getting the practical tools to understand how to use your smartphone camera to take your photos, because we need to make it really accessible and take away all your excuses to not show up when you can really use the
Mm,
camera in your pocket. And so we have that in there that is the support. And then we have a series of challenges. So we're about to go into our 8 week challenge, which is really, 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 really popular. And that is where they get prompts every single week. So there's a creative prompt, and the prompts are designed to kind of stretch you in your comfort zone. So we're showing a little bit of your space. We're learning how to really sink into our chair and take up space in the frame and relax. We're learning how to shoot ourselves in our environment. And there's no other equipment needed than your smartphone and your tripod. We use all natural light. I show you how to do that, and we go through, and then this is the kicker. We post our photos, so everybody goes away that week, they come back, and then they post the photo that they created, and then everybody comments, and everyone is terrified. And there's always, LuAnn, there's always this moment when I start a challenge when I think, oh, this is going to be the challenge when no one shares, because it just takes that one person to share their photo first, right? And
right,
so
right,
I'm
right.
waiting for that to come through, and someone shares, and then they just come in like
Boom, here
popcorn.
comes all the others.
It all comes like this, yes. And then, because that's you're
Yeah,
practicing showing in this
yeah.
space. And what happens that's really incredible is the support and the momentum that the group gains. And it is not competitive in any way, shape, or form. So someone will post a photo and someone else will say, I wish I thought of that. That's amazing. I'm going to go try that right now. Hey, here's my version of that.
Mm,
And now it's almost gamified. It's fun,
yeah,
and it
okay.
just
Yes.
flips
And
because you're doing it.
collaborative and supportive, it sounds like. It's like we're in it together.
Yeah.
You feel just as
We're
silly as I feel,
all
but it's cool.
exactly. We're all in it together, and we're getting together every week, and we're talking about our experience, and we're going through anything that comes up along the way, whether it is like, finding more time to do it, or not having, feeling like you don't know quite how to translate the vision in your head into the photo or the video that you want to put out. Just getting those technical skills to make the content that you're putting out actually look good, because the majority of
Mm,
these people are doing their own content. Um,
mm,
and then the ones who aren't can then give that direction to your social media person. Because if you're not happy with what your social media person's doing, you're probably not giving them your bigger vision. That's got to come from you for what that's going to
mm.
be. And so, yeah, so that's what we're doing in there. And it's
I love
just,
it.
it's incredible. Yeah.
So the photo club is 40, well, right now as of this recording, because you could listen to this in 5 years and it could be a different price. But as of right now with this recording, it's 47 a month. And these challenges, it's like a monthly thing and you stay in it. And now this challenge comes out, and then 3 or 4 months, a different thing happens. And it's just, you're just consistently putting, content, putting prompts, putting education, putting things in front of the members in the photo club to consistently improve their experience with showing up online and overcoming imposter syndrome and being able to really, like, I love your line, the architect visibility, right? Like, it's like crafting the point of view of who you're going to be. I feel like that could be, I see that trajectory, right? It's first I got to understand that that's actually what I look like. I think I look like this, but that's actually, and it's okay that I look like that because that's how I actually am every single day, right? Like I get that like little juxtaposition, right?
Yeah.
But it's like getting past that, understanding the tools, and then the practice of the different prompts and finding success in some of those prompts, right? And probably like, oh, didn't do that so good. Let me try it again. But having a path to trying again as opposed to just feeling like you're lost. Um, but then it's like, well, now that I've got that down, it's you know what it reminds me of? At least you tell me what it reminds me of. This is what it reminds me of. You ever practice yoga?
Yeah.
Okay, right? Like You can do the exact same class from the exact same instructor for a year, but you get something different out of it as the entire year goes by because your version of, bird of paradise the first time you do it is ridiculous, right? And then a year later, you're now like trying to perfect the alignment of one hip versus the other hip, let alone you were trying to keep your balance the first time. So
Yeah.
it feels like that to me, what your photo club is. It's like it almost is quote unquote the same stuff like yoga, but you're ready for different levels of your appreciation and your learning and your discovery of yourself in the process of it. Am I on the right
Yeah.
path of
Yeah.
what your
And
experience is?
exactly. And you're not the same person that you were when you started. So, for example, at the eight
Right.
weeks, we take this photo, it's called a minimal portrait at the beginning in black and white. And then we take a minimal portrait in color at the end, because at that point you've got, you know where to stand for lighting and that's not going to be all weird. So then we do that one in color. What happens is you have these beautiful visual benchmarks to show how not just the photos have changed, but your feelings about the photos have changed. So that first photo
Right.
that they're posting and they're like, this feels so weird, I'm going to post this, and they're pointing out everything that's wrong with that photo. Then they take the last one and then we post them side by side and we talk about them together. And people have so much empathy for that first photo now. They see where they're trying
Yeah.
and they see themselves, and those triggers and those activations and the criticism around that first initial photo aren't there anymore because they've had this whole
Right.
journey. And so
I
once
love
they
it.
realize that, then it's like, well, what else is possible? What else can I do with this? And then we're also creating content. So they're still getting camera roll full of content. So they don't have to keep shooting content every single day to feed their social media. And they're developing their
I
point of
love
view.
it.
Because that's the other mistake that we make in our brand, right? We launch a website and we go get
Mhm.
photos and we don't know who we are. We don't know what our brand is. The photos don't fit. I mean, how many times do you hear like, oh, don't go to my about page, it's a really old, if they have a photo, they're like, no, it's a really
Yeah.
old photo, right? Because
Yeah.
you did
Mhm.
that before you knew even who you were or what your brand was about. And
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
this is the should really be the foundational step that informs everything else, because then it's like top down. You're the top. If
Yeah.
you have a personal brand, you're the top.
Mhm. I love it. I love it. And you know what? I think that so many understand that their branding photographs should be taken every 2 to 4 years, depending on, how old you are and how much you're aging in those years, right? But they get it. You get it from a documentation standpoint. Like, I don't look like this anymore. It's 4 years later. I look different. But it's really, I think the value in it is to your point, that first photo and then the second photo 8 weeks later, it's like your first photo shoot to your second or third photo shoot 6 years later. You're just coming more and more into who you are as a designer. Like, right, the person who is like, I can't stand in that picture, my personal, I don't look like my brand. But I think as you grow your business chops and you grow and you season as a business owner, I think if you continue to do good work and you continue to take the time, I always say, take a minute, acknowledge the wins. Like, I did something good. Don't go blowing by it. Right. Even if you look exactly the same, it's the same clothes, it's the same office, it's the same everything. I think that 5, 6 years later, you just own more of it. It's like,
Yep.
yeah, I make your house beautiful, but this is what mine looks like. Kiss my butt. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is my portfolio. It's not a joke. It's not a fake thing. And I'm not at that stage yet. Good for you. You're 20 years older than me. You're spending your life savings on a house. I'll get there. I promise you. like you do. I think you do grow. You just grow as a human, and it shows in your photos is the point. It's not just growing old. It's you grow inside and that comes out. Right, Lise?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're showing up on in your photos. And if you're not showing up in your photos and you're avoiding the whole thing, then you're not going to get to the
Yeah.
point where you're having
That's
those realizations,
mistake
because
one.
you're still hiding, right? And you're going to
Yeah.
bed at night telling tomorrow will be different. I'll show up tomorrow. I'll go for the big opportunity tomorrow that I want to go for, but I'm not going for because it means I'm going to have to be seen.
Yeah.
And that is just That's just sad.
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
not what we're
Well, there
doing
is
here.
so much opportunity in this industry to be seen.
Yeah.
Forget your own social media feed, but all of the different opportunities, speaking engagements, press opportunities, all the things. And it's just illogical to think that even if you submit an Amy Fleury perfect pitch, right? Like Amy Fleury is our expert here who has taught us recipe for press, you know, and I just recommended the book to a chairman of the board this morning. I'm like, this is a great opportunity. Go get Amy's book. Follow the path. Like, you don't need me to teach it to you. We had an expert to teach it to you, right? And the thing is, I don't care how good that pitch is. If you think an editor is now not going to Google you and Google your website and look at, did you show up in designers today? And were you sitting there with 16 drinks or were you like standing by a piece of furniture? Like, it's like you do have to think about the way you are online and the way you are making yourself, to your point, visible, because there needs to be evidence of all the other things that you're saying. And it maybe doesn't have to be in the office, but to your point, if you're a fabulous designer, I know a lot of designers do a really good job of the behind the scenes, right? Of the process of, like, you're talking about you want me to do. I'm like, I don't know that you want to see it. I think it's a little wackadoodle, but designers, I have known a lot of designers that like, oh, here's, meeting with the builder. I'm meeting with the thing. And this is how we
Yep.
decide how high the chandelier goes. Like, right. Um, and that does help consumers recognize, oh, there's an expertise behind this. It isn't just a throw the paint at the wall and maybe the chandelier's in the right spot. It's like, look at the care they're taking to make sure that, there's extra I-beam up there or there's a crank to reach the chandelier so it can be cleaned once a year. Like all the little things that a consumer is like, oh, there's a lot that goes into this, right?
Yeah, and they're actually seeing that the person's showing up and they're part of the process. So they're not just going to be
Yeah.
outsourced or have that initial meeting and then they're going to show up for the final design. But there's a lot of people that aren't doing that in their business. They're not showing you behind the scenes because there's
Mhm.
this pressure to show up as a perfect complete package, and that is just baked
Yeah.
into our society. Especially for women, it's baked in. There is
Yeah.
a certain
Yeah.
expectation where the way that you're showing up, how attractive you are, the level of aestheticism that you bring to something equates power or not power. And I mean, that's
Mhm.
what we're really talking about here, because feeling
Yeah.
afraid to be on camera and having putting your image out there, it's disempowering to think about your face being out there in the world with people thinking whatever they want of it. And it it's baked in. This is a bigger
Yeah.
thing than just what's happening in our own brain. There is a massive societal element to this as
Oh,
well.
1000%.
Yeah. And so I think instead of doing the brand photo shoot and going for perfect and having that, stylized editorial photo, which, yeah, that's fine. Do that later, but you can make it so much simpler for yourself to start small. Start by showing up on your Instagram stories. Show us how you're fluffing the pillows in a space. I could watch that until the cows come home. I could watch a space being styled. Like, I would love to
Yes,
see
you
you.
enjoy
I,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would love to see you opening up the trunk of your car and pulling out all the goodies and just put those in stories and then put something in your feed and then try
Mm.
a video, then try a photo. Photos are so much harder than video too because you have to be
Mhm.
still. You have to just kind of hold something
It's
versus
true.
yeah, versus a video where you can be in motion, you can be walking, you can actually be doing
Yeah.
something. Not the fake walking that they make
Yeah.
you do in the brand photo shoots, but
No, no. Yeah.
you can actually be doing your work. So if you're thinking
Yeah.
about starting, start there. Start with something that feels really natural to you. You don't have to
Mm.
go to the photo studio, and start there.
Yeah. 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 I love it. I love it. So tell us, how do they find the podcast? How do they find the photo club group? And I don't know, I can look up air date. When is the next challenge coming versus when you're going on air? Let's check that out.
Okay, so the next challenge is coming on September 23rd. So we're 20 days away from that, but the doors to the studio are always open and we always have a challenge or a video sprint happening at any time.
Okay.
And so there's that. And then the Golden Brand podcast is my podcast where we talk about those moments where women are realizing that they're going to do something different. They're ready to make a change. They're ready to show up. And we're talking about what those pivotal moments were for them and what that was like and what things are like on the other side. And then the best place to find me, though, is at the Golden Brand Co. on Instagram.
Okay. Perfect. So right now we're recording. The scheduled air date is September 20th. May or may not happen. Sometimes we jigger things around here, but if it does happen live, then you are 3 days from the next challenge happening. Otherwise, as you said, there's always a rolling, another one's going to come. But all the universe things lines up. You're going to be on air right before the challenge starts. So if you're listening and you're excited and enticed to check this out, you're right on time for this and to meet Lisa and go through this next challenge with her. So I knew I was going to love you. Nicole loves you. I love you. So I appreciate you so much. I'm sorry it turned into a little bit of therapy session there for a minute for me, but you know what? It's like it's all in a day's work, right? So thank you, Lisa, for being here with me today.
Yeah, thank you, LuAnn. It's been an absolute pleasure.